just a quick message from the ancestors. So, as far as spirituality and our ancestors, everybody pretty much knows they worked with what they had, right? And although that is one of the things, a lot of you do come from, I'm not going to say a lot. There are some folks that come from ancient bloodlines where they taught people things in spirituality. Like they were the ones that had the keys to all this knowledge. Like they taught people things. So things that other people picked up and knew, they got it from those that come from those ancient civilizations. They got those from your ancestors, right? So my point of saying all this is, when we come on social media and we say spiritual tips, a lot of the spiritual tips that people give out are from their own ways of how they practice. It's not a universal law. It's not a universal spiritual tip. It's how they practice. So keep that in mind, okay? And that is the reason why I gave the backstory on the ancient civilizations, because if you come from a bloodline where, you know, those ancient civilizations taught others certain spiritual things and practices, then you typically practice the same way that ancient civilization that you come from, you typically practice the traditional ways of your ancestors. They might have you tweak some things a little bit just because you're the one that they basically passed the baton to. Okay? So they may have you tweak some things a little bit for their own reasons. Like it's something about it that they're teaching you or some shit, okay, that you're picking up. But for, like I said, for the most part, when people get online and say spiritual tip, you know, these are things that they are telling you because these things worked for them. That don't mean they're gonna work for you. Unless it's a traditional spiritual tip they're giving you, like some people got traditional spiritual tips in hoodoo, or some people got traditional spiritual tips in voodoo or Ifa. But Ifa is a close practice, so I don't really know how that will work out, because that usually correlates to whoever practices Ifa, I would think, but I don't know because I'm not in Ifa, okay? So I'm just saying all of that to keep that in mind, because typically with hoodoo, especially if you come from a civilization where your ancestors taught these things, like taught basically the world these things, then and had links to other lineages, from my understanding, and other civilizations that also practice these things, then hoodoo would be one of the ones, if there wasn't another name for it, you know, way back when, would be one of the ones that would possibly pick up some of these ancient traditions from ancient civilizations, because it's a more of a practice where you don't have to be initiated in. Okay, so just keep that in mind, because a little bit of hoodoo, I would think, would be those that come on and they give spiritual tips, and they that is coming from their own ancestors, and they're just passing along to you because they feel like, well, it's worked for me, would it work for you? It may not necessarily work for you. That may not be one of the things that your ancestors want you to utilize as a practice for their own personal reasons. Again, the Most High, they know you better than anybody, because you got the same blood running through your veins, and another person giving you a spiritual tip, they got different blood running through their veins. Yeah, at some point we kind of connect, but still at the end of the day, you do have differences and different karmic lessons that you needed to learn, they may not have needed to learn. So keep all that shit in mind when you get on here and you listen to people giving you spiritual tips. Ask your ancestors. Ask the ones that came before you. Ask the Most High, hey, you know, would this work for me? And then find out why. They may take you through a whole little thing to show you why that's not for you. And saying this is not to say that somebody else is wrong and somebody is right. It's about what works for you and you sticking to what the hell is going on within your own lineage, hun. That's all. That's it. And when I say hun, that can be male or female. Thank you for your time.